Hello, my name is
Right.
Ross Silver. I'm the CEO of Sylva International, and I'm joined today by Ray Colwell, who's the CEO of LOGX. Ray, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Ross, for having me.
Of course, and for the viewers out there watching this, LOGX is one of the most disruptive tech companies that I've come across in my career, and Ray will expand a little bit as to why that's the case. So maybe Ray, if we could start off, could you just describe the business of LOGX, and then also in that description, could you also describe the sustained competitive advantage that LOGX enjoys?
Sure. PeerLogix is primarily in the data business, and we're focused on the over-the-top marketplace. So it's that place where people are sharing, downloading, streaming audio and video content for consumption at the household level. And we capture and analyze all of that activity, both at a macro level, right? So how many video hours, audio hours are being consumed globally and at the household level, and then at the micro level. So, for instance, who downloaded and watched Modern Family last night? How many households and where were those households who downloaded and watched NCIS last night?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really additive to the linear television marketplace, which is, from a viewership standpoint, is decreasing over time. And we're in the business of capturing where a lot of that activity is migrating to, which is in the over-the-top space.
Okay. And then as far as just
Um, the,
or go ahead, the competitive dynamic, how do you see
yeah,
that
sorry.
kind of taking place?
Yeah, the sustained advantage is that we're an early mover advantage, right? And we've captured a little bit over 2 years of this activity and this migration pattern that's gone to over the top. So we have a large library of over 1 million titles that have been downloaded and watched and consumed at the household level over the last 2 years. And what we also see is a tremendous increase month to month in the activity, not only here in North America, but around the rest of the world, of this over-the-top, streaming activity that's happening. And to the likes of, Netflix and Roku and some of the other companies that are in the space, they're seeing a big growth part to their business as well. We specifically analyze the data behind all of that growth that's going on in the space. And from a competitive advantage standpoint, it's early, but we feel like we've got a great library, and we're already seeing a tremendous amount of analytics come out of that because of the size of the database that we've been able to capture. The technology and the data just happens to be at at an intersection of a lot of the things that are going on in the advertising technology space. So, for instance, things are moving to an automated way of buying and selling advertising. That's called programmatic. What fuels programmatic buying is data, all kinds of data, right? Data at the household level, commerce data, demographic data, as well as consumption data. And we play on that consumption data, specifically what is entertaining at the household level, people who are sitting there on laptops, on mobile phones, and tablets. And incidentally enough, people aren't just watching a 62-inch screen TV; they're watching personalized content in the living room. So that's one of the data is fueling the programmatic move to automated advertising. And a couple other things that are happening too is this migration from the desktop to mobile. So our data is 100% mobilized for that transition and that migration that's taking place. Recently, a study just came out that over 50% of digital advertising now is happening on a mobile device, not necessarily on a desktop anymore. So we've seen that inflection point finally happen in 2017. The other thing that is happening as well is video, digital video from an advertising standpoint is finally taking root. No longer do you see the predominant, ad banner being the monetization item of choice for publishers. It's now all about video. So our data is mobilized for the mobile growth that's happening. We play in primarily the video space. We're capturing video consumption from a content standpoint. And our data is integrated into the programmatic ecosystem for activation on the buy side. So all of those things are coming together for a company like ours. So I feel like we're in a pretty good place given our library of consumption data that we can pump into that buy side and the demand side for adding. One thing we didn't mention that we should is I do think the data is equally useful on the supply side. Meaning if you're a content provider and you have video for consumption on your site, you're ESPN, NFL, you just happen to be any site that has video for people to watch, our data can be used to influence and recommend what other videos you should watch. So for each publisher that's out there, and there are hundreds of thousands of publishers, our data can be used to help them keep visitors on their site longer by recommending other videos to watch based upon our data at the household level. We can recommend other videos so that you stay longer, they can monetize that user longer, and they can essentially sell you more advertising while you're on the site and create a better consumer experience as well when you visit. So there's really multiple uses for this data. We can serve both people who are trying to target users from an advertising standpoint, and we can serve publishers who are trying to deliver better, more personalized, relevant content from a video standpoint based upon our data as well. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, no, that's very helpful. And then just a quick question for you. I mean, how large would you say this market is in which you're competing?
Well, the digital data market is extremely large. You have companies like Dun & Bradstreet and Nielsen, to name just a couple of multi-billion-dollar companies in the space who are selling all kinds of data. So we're a small company, but we feel like, as I said earlier, we're in the middle of this intersection of everything that's going on right in the ecosystem, that we will be a seller of this type of data that can fuel video, mobile and video advertising in the programmatic space, as well as content delivery that's much more relevant to the consumer. So it depends on which market you want to look at. You want to look at the data market, you want to look at the advertising market, but you're talking about, hundreds of billions of dollars being spent both on the data side and on the advertising side, not to mention what type of data infrastructure that publishers use is extremely large as well.
Okay. And then just a final question for you, and this is always the million-dollar question for investors that watch our videos, is why now? Why should an investor buy PureLogic stock now? How would you respond to that?
Great question. I think there are a couple of reasons. Some of them I've just touched on briefly, which were our library is bigger than anything I know of that exists in the marketplace. The subscriptions that are happening on, and so we really have an archive and a library of video and audio consumption data that nobody else, I don't think, has, other than someone like a closed garden, like a Netflix or an Amazon Prime or a Hulu. Those companies just see what their subscribers are watching. We see what everyone else, in addition to those people, are watching, because we're in the free space where a lot more content by a magnitude of 10x plus is being watched outside of those subscription services. So that's the real reason for why now. Secondarily, I also think in the ecosystem today, you have the combination of automated advertising where our data is plugged into at scale. You have mobile that is now taken over desktop digital advertising, and our data is mobilized. We can reach mobile devices, and we're tracking the consumption. And video. the infrastructure in place for video advertising to be really uh, um, impactful with broadband speeds to the home and the device now. Video advertising is really going to overtake all forms of digital advertising, banners, rich media. It's all about mobile and it's all about video. And we track video consumption at the household. So we know what households watch a lot of video. So at the tip of the spear, when advertisers want to reach somebody, they want to reach someone who's open to receiving video advertising. If we can tell them what households are consuming a ton of video, it's a great opportunity to run video advertising to those folks. It's a feature-rich environment to hunt for new customers. So those two things: the rich library, the size of the library, how it's structured, and the 2+ years that we have of being able to look back and really track and trend a household's consumption of that video and audio. And then secondarily, the coming together in the ecosystem of programmatic or automated advertising on mobile devices and consuming of video on mobile devices, because you now have broadband speeds to the handset, are two things that are coming together really nicely for us. And I think, at this stage of our existence, it's an awesome time to get in on the ground floor of this space. And we're now taking our data to market, both on the demand side and the supply side. And we've had amazing feedback from the marketplace about the uniqueness of the data. They haven't seen this anywhere before, and the sheer size and the footprint that we can cover as many households as we cover. So that initial feedback has been phenomenal, and I think in the coming weeks ahead, you'll see us announce a number of things, number of partnerships with major players in the space that are going to allow us to really efficiently move this data through the ecosystem with not a lot of expense and a lot of leverage using some of these partners that we're going to be doing business with and announcing shortly.
Okay. Well, Mr. Colwell, thank you again so much for your time today. And for those of you who are watching this, feel free to go to our website, which is www.sylvacap.com, to learn more about PureLogix and their compelling story. And again, thank you so much, Mr. Colwell, for joining us today.
Thanks, Ross. Appreciate it.
Take care.